Let's look at the book of Leviticus, chapters 1 through 16 is the priestly code. Leviticus is named for the tribe Levi, which was the priestly tribe. Priestly actions are central in this first part of the book. Specific sections include laws of sacrifice, the ordination of priests, regulation concerning impurities, and the rites for making atonement. Chapters 17 through 27 is the holiness code. The responsibility of the entire community receives greater attention in the second part of Leviticus. The central idea is that the people of God must be holy because God is holy. There are laws given concerning sexual relations, loving one's neighbor, festivals, and the redemption of property. That takes us to the book of Numbers. Numbers is named for the census of the Exodus generation taken out Mount Sinai, and for the census of the generation born in the wilderness taken on the plains of Moab. We find that in Numbers 26. The first generation proves faithless and dies in the wilderness, but the second generation comes to the promised land. Chapters 1 through 10 continues the story of Israel at Mount Sinai, where the laws were given. At the end of this section, the people depart from Sinai. Now, that then moves us to the book of Numbers, chapters 11 through 21, traces Israel's journey through the wilderness. The people encamp at an oasis called Kadesh Barnea. They complain about food, and Moses' leadership spies enter Canaan and bring back a large cluster of grapes to prove the bounty of that land. The people refuse to enter the land. God assents to their wish. God will let them die in the wilderness. Find that in Numbers 14. Korah tries to seize the prerogatives of the priesthood and is destroyed. God shows his own choice for the priesthood by making Aaron's rod bud and bear almonds. The people continue to complain, and God afflicts them so that they have to repent. They are healed when they look at a bronze serpent that Moses makes. As they make their way through the Transjordan, they win victories from King Sihon and King Og. Chapters 22 through 36 brings Israel to the plains of Moab near the promised land. Fearful of the Israel's advance, the Moabite king Balak summons a diviner named Balaam to curse them. God uses Balaam to bless Israel instead. Israel commits apostasy by worshiping Baal. Peor Phineas, the priest, slew the idolatrous. Israel eventually conquers the region. Now, that takes us to the book of Deuteronomy, which is set at the end of Israel's wandering through the wilderness. As the Israelites encamp at the on the east side of the Jordan, chapters 1 through 4 recalls the wilderness period. Moses remembers how the generation that came out of Egypt died in the wilderness because of their disobedience, but how God faithfully brought this new generation to the edge of the Canaan land, or promised land. Let's look now at chapters 5 through 28, which recalls the law. Moses repeats the 10 commandments given at Mount Sinai. Moses stresses the importance of worshiping God and God alone, and the need for a single center of worship. The name Deuteronomy means second law and reflects the repetition of the law. A ritual for reaffirming the covenant concludes this section. Now, chapters 29 through 34 prepares for entry into the land of promise. Joshua is commissioned to lead the people. Moses teaches them a song to remind them of God's faithfulness and the dangers of disobedience. Then Moses blesses the tribes and looks to the promised land from Mount Nebo. He dies in an unknown place. Now, that completes the first 5 books.